I know.
इजाजत है सर? जी सर, आप इजाजत देंगे?
Doktor machen Sangnamen.
오늘은 pakistan
म्यूट करेंगे अपना जिसका फिर है ना उसको कोई मिस है अपना फिर आप अनम्यूट करें बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम those who are online, those who are physically present, I'm really grateful to the president of the academy, Khalid Mahmood Khan Sahab. He made sure this time that he personally comes and sits with us physically. That's great, sir. A lot of encouragement for us. Finally, you supervised the final webinar yourself. The academy also, he spent whole 3 days with us in last webinar. This time he's here. So let's start the proceeding of today's hybrid, both physical and online workshop. And I request for recitation of holy verses from the Holy Quran, please.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful.
قل أعوذ برب الناس.
Say, I seek refuge in the Lord of mankind,
ملك الناس.
the sovereign of mankind,
إله الناس.
the God of mankind,
من شر الوسواس الخناس.
from the evil of the retreating whisperer,
الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس.
who whispers evil into the breasts of mankind,
من الجنة والناس.
from among the jinn and mankind.
Jazakallah. We are lucky to have President of the Academy. The great thing for today is President of the Academy himself is a biochemist and very much related to renowned scientist to the pandemics and its various aspects. But today it's more important for him also. That's why he physically came. And that is he remained Vice Chancellor of an agriculture university in Pakistan, which is Arid Agriculture University, for more than a decade, and changed a small entity into a well-known international university. So that's why the first topic of the today, food insecurity, is a topic of himself also. And furthermore, if we add to that, that university name is Arid Agriculture, means that that university is trying to focus on the area which is due to somehow not agriculturable or not cultivable. So he made sure that we take benefit of that main source that we have. Secondly, the today's second aspect, we are talking two aspects of today's webinar in the concluding series. One was on food insecurity. The other one is on higher education. Now, again, he remained chairman, Pakistan Science Foundation, as well as many other top positions of the country. But these two positions were very much linked to these two concepts that today we will be talking in detail. If I start going on and on, it'll be a lot of time consumed. So therefore, without further delay, may I request Professor Dr. Khalid Mahmood Khan, President of the Academy, to come and share his thoughts with us. Professor Khalid Mahmood Khan, sir, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Sayyid Fakhr Imam, Federal Minister of Food Security and Research, Professor Ayub Hang Kim, President ASA, Professor Zabta Khan Shanwari, Chief Organizer, speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum and very good morning. It's an honor for me to welcome you all to this fourth seminar or webinar of the series of the ASA PAS webinars on pandemic preparedness, science and countermeasures, which are jointly organized by ASA and Pakistan Academy of Sciences. In the previous webinars, eminent speakers focused on COVID-19 spread and its containment. Health and healthcare systems were discussed. Today's topics are very important Presentation discussions shall be about the pandemic effect on higher education and food security and agriculture. Today, COVID-19 effect shall be seen and discussed from a very different angle. Ladies and gentlemen, closing down of education institutions for a longer time and many times has changed the way of learning. E-learning has replaced face-to-face learning. Online teaching and learning is being adopted by most of the institutions. But there are reservations that this has created a big gap between the learners and the knowledge. There are question marks on online learning students. Of what standard they are learning. For marginalized students, it is even more difficult, and there are multi-dimensional aspects of poverty, gender, and location. I hope that these aspects are highlighted today in the discussions. Ladies and gentlemen, COVID-19 is the first and foremost a health problem, but it has shown that health and food security are related together. Lockdowns and movement restrictions nationally and internationally affected economic activity. Food supply chains are disrupted and reaching markets have been made difficult for farmers. Poor and people with marginalized income have been affected by the limited food supply and the high prices. Today's focus will be on the policies and measures to stabilize the agriculture systems. I am glad that Honorable Federal Minister of Food and Security shall be speaking in this session. Sir, we are grateful to you for taking time out for us for this very important activity. I'm also thankful to honorable moderators, Dr. Iqrar Khan, Dr. Kausar Abdullah Malik, and Dr. Zial Kyun, who are eminent in their own fields. Lastly, organizers, Professor Zabta Khashnwari and Professor Tasawwur Hayat and their team deserve the appreciation for organizing this series of webinars, which have been a very, very successful activity. I thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir. As usual, good advices for us to follow. Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency Minister is already online with us and he is listening all the proceedings. It's great to have him. He himself remained on many portfolios, probably the senior most parliamentarian in the country. He remained Education Minister. Now he's Minister for Food Security and many other portfolios. We are lucky to have him online. Welcome, sir. We are really grateful. And inshallah, we will have you in time for your thoughts at around 10 a.m. Now, this event that we had 4 in a row was not possible without very kind guidance and encouragement of ASA leadership. Professor Yu Hong Kim, Professor Lee, both really means business, and they were very kind, and their suggestion and their guidance was always a sort of a candlelight in the dark for us to take these activities on. So ladies and gentlemen, now I'm inviting a person who himself is a very good chemist also, Professor Yu Hong Kim, the president of ASA, to kindly share his view with us. Just one sentence, that this is last webinar of this series, but last webinar with ASA and Academy. Inshallah, we will have many, many, many more activity in the days to come. So Professor Yu Hong Kim, over to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Doctor, for a very kind introduction. Okay. It's a great honor for me to welcome all the participants in the fourth ASAPAS hybrid webinar series on COVID-19 and higher education. Also, I would like to express my special thanks to Professor Khalid Khan, President of the Pakistan Academy of Science, for hosting this workshop. As you are all well aware, in order to prevent spread of COVID-19, all schools have been forced to close completely or at least partially during the COVID-19 pandemic. The higher educational institutes also have been no exception. This unprecedentedly long closure of campuses has brought a paradigm change in how we teach and how we learn. Most of the lectures have been delivered through remote online systems without teacher-student in-person interaction, and they have exposed themselves to many drawbacks. Furthermore, experiments, hands-on experiences, and collaboratory work in the laboratories, which are irreplaceable in science and technology education, have been almost non-existent. There are also digital gap and the resulting equity problems. Among the nations, there are insurmountable divide in ICT infrastructure between high-income countries and low-income countries. Even in the same country, there exist considerable differences in internet access between the well-developed regions and the less developed regions, such as remote mountainous villages and or isolated islands. There are also wealth divide between rich students and poor students in the availability of ICT tools such as computers, notebooks, and cellular phones, etc. Removing these difficulties and secure equities to the students are responsibility of not the student or their families, but the public sector, especially national government. As vaccination proceeds smoothly in some countries, they are ready to open the campuses this coming fall. This is the good news we have been waiting for. But it also reminds us of the painful vaccine divide between the rich countries and poor countries. We must abandon the vaccine nationality, and highly developed, high-income countries must stand together to help low-income countries in this respect. It's my fervent wish that through collective wisdom of participants of this webinar, solutions or at least some remedial measures to the above-mentioned problems will materialize and crystallize into practicable recommendations to the policymakers. In closing, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the speakers, participants, organizers, and the President, Professor Khalid Khan, and his staff of the Pakistan Academy of Science for their dedication to make this workshop a very good success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Yu Hong Kim. You're always coming with good ideas for us. And now from this, we are having some more ideas for future to have some more events. Both the presidents gave us some basic ideas like human rights, like pandemics and, the jails, the prisons, and, many things which we, the academia, are the advisors of the government and specifically the academies. So we should have these events to guide the government as how to tackle these issues. Now, next in my list is Professor Khairul Anwar, who is President-elect ASA. He called me last night, and we both suffer from the same ailment, sir. And we talked for a time, and he requested again, and he conveyed me messages that he feels really very sorry, and he promised that he will visit, sir, to meet you here in Pakistan physically. But now he has this physical issue. I also have the same. But somehow I managed to come, and he unfortunately will be unable to speak today. We hope that next time he comes in, but regards from him, both those who are present, mashallah, today is a full house in physically also. Pakistan is lucky that we got somehow control of the pandemic, not completely, but quite good. And we have a lot of audiences online. I'm grateful to them also. Now, next to move is, I'm really grateful to Marina and Professor Academician Victor Bogato from Far East Russian Academy of Sciences. That is the member of ASA. It's great to have him. And I requested him to share his ideas with us, because they also had hosted one ASA event on food security. So I thought climate change and food security, which somehow I couldn't attend though, a couple of years back. May I request academician Professor Victor Bogato to share his ideas with us regarding this event. Please, sir.
Dear colleagues and friends, I'm honored to welcome you to COVID-19 and higher education webinar organized by the Pakistan Academy of Sciences and us. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the President of us, Professor Haili Khan, President of us, Professor Kim, Chairist of us, Professor Zapta Shinwari, and Pakistan Academy of Science for inviting me to speak to you today. Last year, the international community faced global challenges for all of humanity. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed our world. It has severely tested both weak and strong health systems in all countries, without exception. In recent days, we have seen an increase in the number of cases of a new coronavirus infection in the Russian Federation. The absolute leaders in morbidity are Moscow and Moscow region. Over the past day, 70,594 new cases of coronavirus have been detected in Russia, 6,534 of them in Moscow. But today, about 20 million people have been vaccinated with the first component in the Russian Federation. Both components, more than 60 million people. But I want to note that in the last days, there had been an increase in the daily volume of vaccinations. As a member of the association workshop group on the climate change and health, I would like to emphasize the importance of our common effort to prepare for pandemics and the impact of the climate crisis. The current epidemic is an environmentally related problem. This webinar raises the food safety and agricultural challenges facing us in a pandemic. Previous webinars discussed the role of science and scientists in the fight against COVID, but an important subject of discussion of today's webinar is the topic of higher education during a pandemic. Education can and should form an understanding of the need for vaccination. I would like to wish all participants a successful work during the webinar and fruitful discussion. I wish you and your families to stay safe and healthy during this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor, for your good advices and a lot of good discussion. My friend, Professor Victor Bogato, and Marina also, from the Far Eastern Russian Academy of Sciences. We hope that in future, both our academy and their academy, we will work together. But remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that this series was also co-hosted by Korean Academy of Sciences. Their blessings, their support was always with us, and Malaysian Academy of Sciences. So there were many academies that they guided us, and they provided us human resource. I welcome Professor Iqrar Ahmed Khan also, who is in charge of the next session. But now His Excellency Minister is watching us. So just for his apprise, I share with you in next 5-6 minutes a few slides what we did in the last 3-4 webinars, and then I hand over it to His Excellency the Minister, and that will be the inauguration session. To conclude, please, can I have my slides? So please go ahead. So this is under the preparedness that we were talking about, how we do it. And whether it finished now, for example, in Pakistan now we have less than 2% of positivity of the cases. Yet, if you look at this, this is just to draw your attention towards the long-lasting effect of the COVID. So we as a scientist, we should realize that we still have to go with this virus for a longer time, and we should understand what will happen with the age and with the quality of life with this COVID that we have. Secondly, last time too, I thought about utilitarianism, the ethical point of view, the doctrine that if we have something, sometimes you have to suspend some human rights, so-called the human rights, for like lockdowns and other, and that is under this concept with internationally, that the action is good if it is the benefit for majority of the human being. So when we take decisions, this doctrine tells us how to, take decisions in time. So now, another question which is now proven correct, that herd immunity without vaccine is almost impossible. And that too, how will we get it? We still have to work on it, as President Assa said in the morning, that vaccine delivery to those countries that cannot afford it, unless every human is safe, nobody is safe. So that is the concept that we have to work it. And thirdly, new change, new variants, that also demands us that we continue struggling on the vaccines front, on the diagnostic fronts, because there are a lot of variants that are coming. India is a living example, and Pakistan performed much better as compared to the neighbors like Nepal. Anjana Singh is online with us today also. They faced a lot of trouble because of Indian variant. The border is very porous, and the vaccine also comes from that country. So these are different issues that we have to address. Now, today, sir, Iqrar Ahmed Khan will be the main person to deal with, but just data during COVID-19 with the world, with South Asia and Africa, if we look at it, it's really exacerbated. We need to really focus on it, and we have to take this one also as a main consideration, specifically for the countries where resource scarce country. We have to work on it a little more in a better way. And what we need, His Excellency Minister of Food Security is with us, national policy response. Because this is an international forum, we are mainly talking about low, middle income countries, Pakistan included. So there is that, what problem exists with the food security? It's not only that availability, but it's with the movement, it's with the physical and financial issues, social protection, governance, health, supply, market and trade. Those all issues you deal with when you talk about food security. So there is that we have to have a role of science funders also, that they have to direct their duty as a scientist, what we need to do. Not a traditionally, if I'm a biotechnology student and I start doing in the narrow end, no, today my humanity demands to do little bit different things. So science funders too, whether in our country, it's HEC, Science Foundation, Pakistan Academy of Sciences, we have to divert our resources to these issues that we are confronted with, including food security, including higher education issues. In the evening, I will be sharing a slide with you, recent data of the World Bank, what happened with the higher education in Pakistan, specifically during this COVID-19. Just summarize the last 2 minutes that I have. This was the 3 series that we did. And I'm very pleased, I'm very happy with the international friends of the Academy from Bangladesh, Nepal, Indonesia, Japan, China, Sri Lanka, Turkey, Korea, Vietnam, Kyrgyzstan, USA, Canada, Russia, Iran. They all participated, not as a participant. Our participants were from 20 more different countries. They were the speakers, and they shared their lesson learned from their countries. So this was really a very great moment for Pakistan Academy of Sciences, that not only online thousands of people enjoyed these webinars, but also now through the YouTube that we have a lot of audiences that they are really every day watching and looking at the experts' opinions around the globe. So if you look at this topic, I'm not going into all the detail, from health issues, from SDGs, from social financing. Look at it: pseudoscience, informatics, infodemics, and vaccinations. So we try to cover as much as possible related to pandemic. These 2 issues we couldn't, like food security and higher education. That is what we are going today. And with the approval and guidance of the Academy's president and the ASA president, inshallah, sir, we will be expanding it a bit more the days to come as to how can we really do preparedness and other issues. So I stop here. What we need to do is that at the beginning of, we should understand 2020, we were having 135 million people with acute food security. By the end, we had 265 million people because of COVID. So the difference is almost 100% addition to the poverty. This is global figures. So this is where we need to really talk about as to how to address these issues. And today I'm happy that we have topmost concerned expert, Iqrar Ahmed Khan, Kausar Abdullah Malik, those who will be handling the next technical session and doing all that. With these few words, His Excellency Minister, President ASA, President Pakistan Academy, Iqrar Sahab, and all others, NM Bhatt and many fellows I watched on the screen, they are already there. I'm grateful to the fellows of the academies that they are, participating through online. So thank you very much, sir, all of you, the fellows that they are online. And now let me request next. I hope if you could get Minister online, it is exact in time. We got a message from His Excellency Minister that because of our financial session in the National Assembly, he has to go, and I'm grateful that he gave us time in the morning. So let me invite, as I said earlier, His Excellency Sayyid Fakhr Imam Sahab is the senior most parliamentarian in this country. He remained Speaker of the Assembly. He remained, Education Minister. He remained now Food Security Minister. Many. I'm not going to all detail. And he himself is a progressive farmer. He belongs to an area where very good mangoes are coming to all of us. So thank you very much, sir, that you are here. And I hope that my staff gets you online for your views, sir. His Excellency Sayyid Fakhr Imam Sahab.
कहाँ से कर रहे हैं कोचिंग से
You are already with us.
अभी
Sir, please unmute His Excellency the Minister. May I request staff of His Excellency Syed Fakhri? Yeah, sir, go ahead, sir. We can listen.
Excellencies, honorable ladies and gentlemen, the emergence and spread of infectious diseases with pandemic potential occurred regularly throughout history. And about a century ago, in Spain, post-World War I, approximately 50 million people died from a pandemic which hit at that time. Since then, there have been many pandemics, Ebola in Africa, AIDS before that, and many others globally, which have challenged both the food security aspect as well as the medical aspect. We in Pakistan so far have been lucky on both counts, I think. Number one, national food security, which I had the ministry, we have been able to keep a country food secure to a very large extent, in the sense that there were no real shortages, despite the fact that we had to import approximately 3.6 million tons of wheat. And but we are also have rice production, where we export nearly 4 million tons of rice. So in that sense, we have become food importers. Edible oil has been one element that we keep on importing, unfortunately, for the last several years, despite the fact that some efforts have been made in the sense that we need to bring our people across the board. Nutritional aspects one has to watch, especially of the infants, the young, the women, in terms of nutritional fortification. Milk, Pakistan has been very fortunate that we produce to the tune of 62 million liters of milk. But despite that, because only 7 to 8% of it's processed, and it's a highly perishable product, especially in the summer months when temperature is very high, we lose part of that. But on the other hand, because of the manner, the method, the mode that was taken on by the government of Pakistan under the leadership of Prime Minister Imran Khan, and very well conducted by what we call the NCOC, which is an apex institution which was coordinating the threat which was emanating from this particular COVID-19 pandemic. And our Minister for Planning, who's heading that apex institution, along with the Advisor on Health, Dr. Sultan, and the armed forces in particular, have been extremely helpful in monitoring and organizing, motivating, in collecting statistics, primarily coming from our provincial governments. There has been practically an online review, assessment, and evaluation and monitoring going on constantly to find out the positivity rates, because when we started, we were ill-equipped to really deal with it. But over a period of time, we built up our strategic elements in terms of hospital beds, ventilators we needed. We got them over a period of time. Oxygen, which was needed with patients especially. And overall, the context of putting across to the people in Pakistan primarily, all across, but especially in areas which were the urban areas, and that is where we got the hits most of all. But in terms, if you look at the statistics, Pakistan has been extremely fortunate that in the term of the numbers of deaths that we've had, in the number of hospitalizations we've had, in terms of people who've been totally infected by this, considering that we are nearly 220 million population, we, I think, overall have done and managed our COVID-19, but we cannot rest on our laurels. We cannot rest that we've done well up to now. I think on a daily basis, the whole monitoring evaluation mechanisms are in place. They go on, and every morning, this whole evaluation, even on weekends, there has been virtually no holidays as far as this is concerned. And at the same time, the aspect of food security, nutrition, Pakistan is well blessed that we have this year record production in our history of 6 crops, 3 major wheat, 27.3 million tons we produced, 8.4 million tons of rice we produced, 8.4 million tons of maize we produced. We've had our second largest crop of sugarcane, 81 million tons of sugarcane. And then cotton, which was unfortunately one area, but it heads us from the edible oil point of view, because as a byproduct, edible oil from cotton seed was used earlier at different levels, because nearly 60 to 70% of the local edible oil came as a byproduct of cotton seed oil. So in that sense, we have been looking at it, and the lentils, which form part of our protein diet, we have had to import nearly 60% of it. That's very unfortunate, but we did it all placed in time because there was no global shortage on that. So overall, I think as far as the caloric intake is concerned, we attain it by and large. I think about 80% of our population has sufficient caloric intake, maybe 18 to 20% may not have the required standards, the global standards as far as caloric intake is concerned. As far as the other elements are concerned, fats, carbohydrates, proteins, and vitamins. We have a large fruit production in our country. We have livestock, as I mentioned earlier, milk production, meat production. So I think overall, and we have a large poultry industry. We have a fish industry also, which adds protein diet to our population. So as such, the challenges are very much there, but the government of Pakistan is fully engaged, fully cognizant of keeping, as I said, on a day-to-day basis, a strategic outlook as well as a tactical outlook. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, His Excellency. It's always a pleasure hearing you, but today your input makes us proud of the leadership that they had really tackled in a much better way. Pakistan is being quoted as an example of doing several good things despite of difficulties that our leadership had. Thank you very much, His Excellency. Now, may I request at the end, we have several fellows online, Parvez Iqbal, Batsab, and all this. Kausar Malik is already online, Ikrar is here. So may I request the Secretary General of Pakistan Academy of Sciences to say thanks to all of them, and then we will break for 10 minutes for a cup of tea and come back and join for technical session. Professor Dr. Tasawwur Hayat, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. His Excellency Syed Fakhri Imam, Federal Minister for National Food, Security and Research. Professor Khalid Mahmood Khan Sahab, President, Pakistan Academy of Sciences. Professor Khairul bin Abdullah Yao Hong Kim, President ASA. Khairul Anwar bin Abdullah, President-elect ASA. Professor Zabta Khan Shanwari, Chief Organizer of webinar for this webinar and the Fellow Pakistan Academy of Sciences. Professor Kausar Abdullah Malik, Fellow Pakistan Academy of Sciences. Professor Iqrar Ahmad Saab, ex-Vice Chancellor of the Agriculture University and the Fellow of Pakistan Academy of Sciences. The other distinguished fellows who are available online, eminent foreign and local speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen, dear students, Assalamu alaikum, and a very good morning. It is indeed a matter of great honor and pleasure for me to present vote of thanks at the inaugural session of the webinar 4th on hybrid workshop titled COVID-19 and Higher Education, Addressing Food Insecurity through Policy Support and Research, which is being held today at Pakistan Academy of Sciences. And this is a joint venture by the ASA, IAP, and the Pakistan Academy of Sciences. I am indeed grateful to ASA executive officials and the chief organizer of the webinar 4 for selecting the two very important COVID-19 impacted themes of food security and higher education for deliberations in today's webinar at the Pakistan Academy of Sciences. Ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 related pandemic has forced the global academic community to explore new ways of teaching and learning, including distance and online education. As a result, proven challenges have emerged on one hand for the students and the educators who have to deal with the emotional, physical, and economic difficulties posed by the illness while doing their part to help curb the spread of the virus. And on the other hand, it has raised questions with respect to food security. It has been estimated that over 1.5 billion students in 165 countries are out of school due to COVID-19. The future is uncertain to everyone, particularly for millions of students scheduled to graduate this year who will face a world which is crippled economically by the pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic threat is not one of health alone, but the knock on effects of the response to the crisis. SDG for Goal 2, Zero Hunger also requires us to focus on food insecurity in low and middle income countries, in particular, students from marginalized community needs and providing food supplies to enable them to continue their learning online without the added burden of food insecurity. At Pakistan national level, we need to have physical, mental, and healthy copying strategies during this period of disruptions and providing information about affordable healthy food options, given the economic consequences of the pandemic, addressing SDG goals 3, 4, and 5 through 17 of the Government of Pakistan. Today's hybrid workshop is organized to address all the challenges in its two technical sessions today. I am sure that, like the previous 3 webinars in this auditorium, the deliberations in webinar 4 will also be quite fruitful to meet the objectives set forth for this webinar in relation to addressing the impacts of COVID-19 on community. Ladies and gentlemen, I now come to the prime part of my vote of thanks. First of all, on behalf of the Pakistan Academy of Sciences, I would like to thank His Excellency Sayyid Fakhr Imam, Federal Minister for National Food Security and Research, for sparing time to grace the occasion with his online address and to inaugurate the event. I also wish to extend my deepest gratitude on behalf of Pakistan Academy of Sciences to the Association of Academies and Societies of Sciences in Asia, SHORASA, and Inter-Academy Partnership IAP for their considerable financial and moral support, to the Pakistan Academy of Sciences to organizing webinar 4 on the impact of COVID-19 on food security and education, which are topics of immense concern for sustainable development in the region, as well as to the academicians, policymakers, and scientific advisors to the government in developing innovative solutions to combat the menace of COVID-19 for the safety of mankind in the immediate future. Taking the opportunity, I wish to express my special gratitude to Dr. Yo Hong Kim, President ASA, and President Dr. Khairul Anwar bin Abdullah, President-elect ASA, for provision of the valuable technical and financial support and guidance to Pakistan Academy of Sciences to organize the webinar in a successful and productive manner. My very special thanks are also due to Professor Khalid Mahmood Khan Sahab, President, Pakistan Academy of Sciences, Professor Dr. Zabta Khan Shanwari, Chief Organizer of this event and the Fellow of Pakistan Academy of Sciences, Professor Dr. Iqrar Ahmad Sahab for his interest physically present and his presence over here, Fellow Pakistan Academy of Sciences, Professor Kausar Abdullah, who is also present virtually, and the Fellow Pakistan Academy of Sciences, Professor N.M. Bhatt, who is also Fellow of Pakistan Academy of Sciences for his keen interest in this webinar, Professor Pervez Iqbal Sahab, who is also Honorable Fellow of the Pakistan Academy of Sciences and available online, and all other fellows for their keen interest in this webinar. And I am very grateful to them for spending their time and their keen interest in the activities of the Pakistan Academy of Sciences. And I apologized if I missed any honorable fellows, because I do not know who are other available for this webinar online. Thanks are also due to Professor Victor, academician of the Russian Academy of Sciences, Chief Academic Secretary of Far Eastern Branch of Russian Academy of Sciences, for his keynote address in the inaugural session, and to all other foreign and local faculty of the webinar for sharing their knowledge and expertise at this webinar. We are indeed grateful to all the national and international participants for their very active interest in the deliberations of this seminar. And no doubt, I am also grateful on behalf of Pakistan Academy of Sciences to all the students and the other participants who are available either physically in this auditorium or virtually for this webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel much honored in thanking the devoted team of the Pakistan Academy of Sciences who worked in organizing this event day and night, and sure for their valuable inputs in organizing this webinar, especially Ms. Iram Iqrar for compiling the meeting program, secretarial work, and contacts with the moderators and foreign and local faculty of the webinar, related technical sessions, and to Mr. Muhammad Nasir for management of IT-related tasks for the webinar to make this event a success of the Academy. Last but not the least, I am grateful to the moderators of the webinar, namely Professor Iqrar Ahmed Khan, ex-Vice Chancellor of the Agriculture University and the Fellow of Pakistan Academy of Sciences, who are with us in this auditorium, and Professor Kausar Abdullah Malik for steering the progression of technical activities of the first technical session of the webinar, namely pandemics and food security within the allocated time frame. Thank you very much, sir, for sparing the time. I am also grateful to Professor Dr. Ziaul Qayyum Sahab who is Vice Chancellor of the Allama Iqbal Open University, for steering the progression of technical session on pandemic and higher education in a timely manner. I hope that he will be available online. Finally, on behalf of the organizing committee, I once again thank the chief guest of the webinar, His Excellency Sayyid Fakhr Imam, Federal Minister for National Food Security and Research, for sparing time to address the gathering and to inaugurate the event. I once again reiterate my deep appreciation and acknowledgements of the hard work and the efforts of all those who are participating and contributing in successful organization of this webinar at the Pakistan Academy of Sciences. May Allah bless you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Tasawwur Hayat. Just in a couple of minutes, announcements. I receive a lot of emails for certificates. Those who have attended physically or virtually, at least 70% of the, we have all the attendance with us. They will all be receiving certificates from Pakistan Academy of Sciences in next couple of weeks. We were too busy. I'm sorry if we had delayed it a bit. Webinar 1 has been completed, and 2 and 3 next week, and then 4. So everybody will be receiving. Secondly, to the donor agencies like ASA, IAP, we are sending both hard and soft material of all the 4 webinars. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You will be picking your cup of tea, and we are having break only for 10 minutes. And back here, the technical session will start exact 10:30 from now. Thank you. And those who are online, I'm sorry I cannot send you a cup of tea from here, but you can have it in your offices. And those who are wherever they are, Professor Kim, you owe a cup of tea for me, but next time when you come to Pakistan, I will give you 2 cups instead of 1. So please enjoy one on my behalf in your office. See you after 10 minutes and so. Thank you very much and have a good time. 10 minutes more and then over to Ikrar Ahmed Khan. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.